welcome to Tansson TV Plus. Of course, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Mom.
Yes, and thank you so much for joining us here today.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, we always love doing this, and I feel like it's been a moment, but Mom, how are you doing today?
I am doing just fine. Brandon, how about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited for us to hit another first episode.
Same here, Brandon.
And Mom, are you able to let us know what show are we speaking about here today? What do we choose?
Today we're going to talk about The Parenthood. And I know there have been several The Parenthoods, but this one's the show from 1995.
Yes, and we're very excited to speak about this. It ran for 5 seasons. And Mom, are you able to let us know a little bit about the series?
I sure will. This particular show is about parents who are raising their 4 children with a little help from some neighbors. And also, I'll talk a little bit about this first episode too. We are concentrating first on this first episode only. In this particular episode, their 2 oldest children, who are teenagers, they are basically are able to drive, and they want their grandmother's old car since their grandmother has just bought a car, and they try to trick their parents into getting this new car, well, getting this older car, I should say.
Well, Mom, thank you so much for that.
You are welcome, Brandon.
Yes, and we've spoken about so many of these different shows, and and oftentimes we have shows that start off with initiating event, but this one didn't really have one.
No, it didn't. It started right in the middle, which I found interesting. I know a lot of shows do that, and you and I have discussed that. We kind of think it's a little bit more confusing when the show doesn't quite have a starting point per se. And so this show, although funny, did not have a starting point for the viewing audience. It was just kind of like right. It just started in the middle, or I should say during the action, rather.
Yeah, but I will say that unlike some other shows that start in the middle, this one think is probably one of the more effective ones.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job starting the way that they did, because they did slowly introduce the characters, even though they had a lot of characters to introduce within the first episode. They separated them enough, or sprinkled them in throughout this first episode, and they gave enough characterization, which not a lot of shows I think are able to do, fairly successfully within this first episode, so that you would know a lot about them.
Yeah, and for once, like even with watching the show, that I felt like at home with it on episode 1, because I know a lot of times with these first episodes that go straight to the series premiere without like a traditional pilot, that it's like, okay, by the end of the episode you're like, who are these characters and what was going on? But I think I had a pretty good understanding, at least with the broad concept of this episode by the end.
Yeah, I did too, Brandon. I was able to pick up just a few things from the main characters just from this episode. Like, for example, we know that the older children are kind of manipulative, and that that they kind of want to manipulate their parents, these teenagers. And then we know that the dad is some sort of a professor. We don't know what subject area, but we know he is some sort of a professor. The mother is a little bit more evasive. I'm not quite sure what she does, at least based upon the first episode. We're not sure. We know that there's an older lady who lives next door, who actually comes and she watches the children sometimes, the younger ones. And we do know that she actually helps with some of the household chores, per se. And so I don't want to call her a housekeeper, because she's not. I just think she's just someone who kind of does that. And then something that we didn't talk about, but although we're only talking about the first episode, I've seen some other episodes, so I know that this occurs, was the dream sequence. And I don't know if you picked that up, Bran, but there's a dream sequence in this particular first episode. And the dream sequence tends to be in many of the episodes in Parenthood. And those are just some small things I kind of picked up. Of course, the little ones are supposedly the cutesy ones, so that's in here also.
But yeah, I definitely, let's say, picked up on some similar things. And just to let you know, just to let the audience know, is that even though we're just speaking about episode 1 right here, but we did watch the first 3 episodes recently.
Yeah, we did watch the first 3 episodes. I thought, well, first of all, I was amused by the first one, which made me kind of want to continue watching. And then after watching the first one, we saw something that stood out to us. Brandon, do you want to tell the audience that we saw online and that Roku put up that made us pause to make us watch the episode again?
Yeah, so we pulled up the episode of the series on Tubi, and it said in the description that the show was about these parents trying to sort of reevaluate how to raise their kids after the wife goes, Jerry goes back to work.
Yeah. And Bran, I don't know about you, but I didn't realize that she had just gone back to work. Did you notice that?
I haven't even heard her, I mean, really speaking about work at all within these 3 episodes.
Yeah, it was just kind of assumed that she worked, and because they got the babysitter. But nowhere in there do I recall them saying that the mom's name is Jerry, that Jerry was going back to work. Now we could have seen an edited version that we saw, but you would think even in an edited version they would at least make that stand out, since that apparently is what the series is about. But never once do I remember them ever saying that she was going back to work. And I remember when we first saw that, we both looked at each other and said, "Oh gosh, we got to rewatch this now," because we did remember what the episode was about. But I must have missed that one sentence, and then we watched it again and realized that we did. We never, they never said that she was. This is her first time going back to work.
Yeah, and so I thought that was so interesting. So I don't know if they ever do really establish that, or is that just something that we're supposed to assume, or I don't know.
Yeah, and then something else that we saw online was that they kind of said something about the father being I don't know, that the kids are driving crazy. I don't know, but that the as a he, I guess that meant that he was supposedly watching more of the children. To me, it seemed pretty equal with the parents. So I don't know if this is something that they brought up later in the series, or I should say later after the first 3 or 4 episodes. I'm not sure. I do remember watching this show periodically. I was not consistent with it, and I don't recall the father being that type of a father in the show. I just remember both parents seemed to be working with the children.
So yeah, so definitely, I feel like the series that I don't know, like I feel like I need to learn more about it because because of what we've seen doesn't really match up to the description. I mean, but it's nevertheless, I think, an enjoyable show. Um, it's just what, like you said, in your words, that the description kind of made us pause and think for a moment.
Yeah, it did. And you're right. Well, I'm glad you said you enjoyed the show because I really enjoyed it also, Bran. I think it was kind of, we were looking for something lighthearted to watch, and it was nice to be able to find this lighthearted series.
Yeah, and this series premiere, episode 1, Ring Around the Ring Around the Nosy, I thought was definitely a bit hilarious. I know I've seen it before, but I don't remember in which context I would have seen it, just because I remember some of the plot points. But nevertheless, I thought it was so funny. But I feel like out of everything that we've learned, I feel like we've learned the most about Mrs. Wilcox.
We did. Mrs. Wilcox is, I think she lives next door. But anyway, she's the neighbor, and she is just funny.
Yeah, and I know that, of course, you've seen the show, and I've just seen these first few episodes. So, does Mrs. Wilcox stay on for the whole series?
I don't think she does, but please don't quote me on that. I don't think she stays, at least not consistently.
Okay, that's definitely good to know. And, Mom, is there anything else? Oh, what about the theme song?
Theme song's very catchy. We were talking about this earlier, how we both kind of looked at each other and we remembered the theme song. Especially, well, I remember it because I watched it, of course, when it was out. But rewatching it again, it brought the theme song right back to me.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy it. It's an instrumental theme song for those who haven't checked it out. And yeah, I kind of enjoy it. And I like seeing the different like artistic styles, like the variations in colors when different characters enter. And I mean, I really enjoy it.
Yep, same here, Brandon. Same here. And then, Brandon, will you continue watching it?
Oh, definitely. We had just finished watching a show that we were pretty reliably watching not that long ago, and so we're trying to figure out like what type of shows that can we watch in the very rare times that we have free time. And I think this is I'd definitely be open to watching more episodes of The Parenthood.
Yep, same here, Brandon. Same here. And as the audience knows, I kind of like to rate our shows. I'm going through 1 through 5, 5 being the highest. And I gave this show a 3.5. It is a nice family show at this point, anyway, from what I've seen. A nice family show that you're able to watch. And it does make you giggle. I mean, we did laugh out loud at a few times.
Yes, we definitely did laugh out loud more than once, definitely. And for me, I would definitely. I think I'd actually go a little bit higher than you. I think I'd go 4.
Okay. I was almost there, Brandon. I really was.
But yeah, I mean, I really think that if it wasn't for anything else, I mean, I think that I believe all of these people in their roles. Like, I think a lot of times shows have a little bit of a learning curve where, the actors and the writers are still trying to get to use of, like, who are these characters? But whereas I feel like they're sort of already in their roles on day one.
Yep, same here. Same here.
But yeah, and I did want to mention that we do actually have a connection with the director.
Ooh, what's our connection, Brandon?
So the director for this episode also directed the episode "The Facts of Life: Christmas in the Big House."
Oh, we just went over that one. So that is great.
Yes, and so the director has also directed numerous other shows that we have watched, but yeah, so we definitely recognize his name, John Baweb. Babe.
Okay. All right. That's good to know, Brandon. Any other connections?
So no other connections that I'm aware of, but I did actually find something in my research though.
Oh, what did you find?
So what I did find out is that one of the composers for the series is the actor that plays Michael.
Yes, I did see online that Ken Blank, if I remember correctly. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, that he was a composer. I did read that. And that is so interesting.
But yeah, and so it's definitely interesting to learn all these different tidbits as we continue going through these shows.
Yes, it is. It is. And I will say, Brandon, well, to our audience, we kind of thank you for watching today.
Yes, definitely. We really appreciate all your support.
Yes. I say we look forward to seeing you next time, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, have a wonderful day.
All right. Bye bye, everybody.